All wars end with negotiations. It's not the soldiers in the trenches who decide when. Arni joined the Ukrainian army in 2022 to fight for his country's survival. When we bump into him 30 months later, he describes a new motivation: peace. "No one likes war, we want to finish it," he says, while leaning against his camouflaged pickup truck. For the troops we encounter close to Russia's border, there's a desire to end Russia's invasion on acceptable terms. That is not to say survival isn't a core driver, it is, but they seem to be striving for a finish line. "For Ukraine, our people, will stand until the end," adds Arni. Until the 6th of August, Ukraine's sole objective was one of liberation: the complete repelling of Russian forces to its borders from before Russia first invaded in 2014. Albeit at a grinding pace, the reverse has been happening for the past year and a half, with Moscow eroding Ukrainian territory. Then came the all-in poker play, which surprised everyone apart from the battle-hardened Ukrainian soldiers who carried it out, a counter-offensive into Russia's Kursk region. It was undeniably successful and daring, observes Serhiy Kuzan, chairman of the Ukrainian Security and Cooperation Center, a think tank. Now, Kiev can't reference its offensive often enough, with countless pictures of troops giving out aid as they tear down Russian flags. It also changes the narrative, says Alina Frolova, security expert and former deputy defense minister of Ukraine. A situation where we're losing territory step by step is not a good one. Ukraine's strategic position has changed. Despite parallels with Russia's initial invasion, Kiev claims its goal is not to occupy. So what is the aim? Well, there's more than one. Buffer zone. This attack was partly carried out so the city of Sumy was better protected, explains Serhiy Kuzan, who thinks it is often forgotten that the border is still a front line. Since the start of this summer, President Volodymyr Zelensky says there were more than 2,000 strikes on the Sumy region from the Kursk region alone, including 250 glide bombs. For months it was feared Russian troops were preparing for a cross-border attack of their own, and by pushing them back, Serhiy believes defending Ukraine in general will be easier. The now captured Russian city of Sudzha is on a commanding height. The Russians are already in a less advantageous position because we control the approach routes. While Russia has had to react to Ukraine on the battlefield, it has also had its supply lines targeted. Key roads have been seized and a strategically important bridge destroyed, which leads us to the redeployment of Russian forces. The main purpose of this offensive into Kursk is to divert Russia's attention from its occupied territories in Ukraine, says Ivan Stupak, who worked for Ukraine's Security Service, SBU, between 2004 to 2015. The good news for Ukraine is that is what appears to be happening. The bad news is that Russian advances, notably towards the town of Pokrovsk, are not slowing. The Russian army has been redeploying some troops from different directions, the Kherson, Kharkiv, and Donetsk regions, for example, Ivan says. He believes around 10,000 personnel are being diverted, mostly from other parts of Russia. The exchange fund. It is how President Zelensky describes Ukraine's collection of captured Russian soldiers. Historically, when Ukraine has momentum, it captures more and consequentially negotiates the release of their own more easily. The Kursk offensive has been no exception. Kiev says hundreds of Russian troops were taken prisoner. Several could be seen surrendering in drone footage and being taken back to Ukraine with tape blindfolds. Moscow is actually offering to start negotiations to exchange prisoners of war, says Serhiy Kuzan. It is no longer us enlisting the support of Qatar and the United Arab Emirates to ask Russia to hand over our prisoners of war. Pressure. This is a huge part of it for Kiev. On a civilian level, you had the horror and anger felt in the Kursk region in response to the blistering Ukrainian assault on their homes. There were mass evacuations, pleas for help, and criticisms of some authorities for not preventing the attack. On a political level, you had Russian President Vladimir Putin publicly processing events in Moscow while being briefed by his security chiefs. And of course, there is the military level. The influence of this Ukrainian incursion could be quite substantial, concludes Alina Frolova. That's why using highly professional troops was specifically the right decision. Kindly like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section.